went to a government elite school. We were all Muslims. And when there came a Christian from Southern Sudan, he was the only student in the school who was from Southern Sudan, and it happened to be a Christian. And he came and sat next to me, and his name was Zachariah. I hated him. I hated him because he's from Southern Sudan, a different culture. I hated him because he was a Christian. We caused him lots of problems. Like in the class, whatever problem happened, it all ended up with him. You know, we hit him, we beat him like nearly every single day. But what struck me, he was very nice. And then I thought, how can an unbeliever be so nice and so smart? You know, I had this picture about Christians are immoral, Christians are like the bad people. You know, morally, he was the best one in the class. And you insult him, he always smiles at you. You do bad things to him, he's never hitting back. And this actually struck me inside, you know, and I started even to hate him more because of that. And then one day I said to my friends, we need to kill Zachariah. We need to kill him because he's a Christian, and we need actually to clean the school from an unbeliever. And in one night, we attacked him. We attacked him in Ruut, in the forest, in a very dark night. He was walking under a tree, and we climbed on the tree and we waited for him. And when he came, we jumped on him, and we had our guns because we had a military training that time. And we hit him so bad, and he was crying, was shouting. And one of the guys was putting his hand in his mouth, you know, and I was on the top of him and the other one. So we hit him so bad, and he was almost dead. He almost died. And I said to my friends, okay, then leave him, because we injured him so badly that he will definitely die. And we left him in the wood in the middle of this dark night so that he will die. And Zachariah never came back again to school. I personally used to hate Christians. I have never had a Christian friend. I have never visited a church. I have never seen a Bible in my entire life. But I was taught in the Quran school to hate Jews and Christians, even though I have never knew what they believe in. The problems happens in the minute when you say, I believe that Jesus Christ is God. And the minute that you say Jesus Christ died for me and rose again, and the minute that you get baptized. So when this happened, people got persecuted. They got persecuted from their families. They get persecuted from the Islamic Ummah. They get persecuted from the governments. The word Ummah comes from the Arabic word and means mother. And so like even in Europe, where like you have a free society, you have laws, still people get persecuted from their own families. Because religion in the Islamic society is not a private thing. Like in the Western society, religion is part of life. In our society, life is part of religion. This means the society, the Ummah, is everything that you have. And you cannot live without this Ummah, collectively. One of the biggest elements why persecution is so severe in the Islamic world because of this Ummah. You cannot break out of it. Even though my family, they were really fanatic Muslims, I had a very good family. So that's why my family was very important to me. So when I told my father that I became a Christian, and I used the word Christian, you know, and I think that was a problem. And that was the first time that I saw his crying. And then he said to me, we cannot accept you. And I had to leave home. That was one of the most devastating moments in my entire life. I walked out from my family and knowing never to be back again. And I remember these things as if it was yesterday. And the most painful thing was not just leaving. Like a couple of days later, I bought the normal newspaper that we have in Khartoum, just reading it. And then in the last page, I will see a big picture of me, my picture, in the newspaper as a death announcement. So my family, they declared me to be dead. I no longer live. And not only that, they brought a coffin, they made a funeral, and they said, our son is dead. And they brought this coffin to the cemetery, and they buried it there. And up to today in our village, there is a tomb in the cemetery, a grave in the cemetery, where my name is written there. That was one of the moment which was very, 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 very difficult. So I was arrested several times. And the last time I was arrested for 7 weeks. They brought me to a place where they bring normally, not just normal criminals, they bring those who are in opposition to the government. We came into this prison, and outside you could hear the screaming of people already. People are screaming. Got inside, people are being beaten up with cables, tied on the walls. Men are screaming naked. And it has a very bad smell. And I could still smell it as I speak about it now. I did not know from where the smell came. They brought me to a basement downstairs. It was very dark. No light came in. And they brought me in a small cell. Total alone. There's nobody there. When they arrested me, the only thing that I could take with me was my Bible and a handkerchief. Handkerchief was brought to me by a group from the YMCA from Germany. They were visiting Khartoum. I took this with me. And I was glad that I took it with me, because this handkerchief became everything for me during this time. I use it as a pillow. I use it as a bed on the ground, because the floor was so hard. So this room was so small, I could not stand and I could not sit. I could not lay down and exchange. And this bad smell came very, very, very strong. So the next day when the guard was coming with his torch, bringing food to me, I would see, like in the floor, so many dead bodies. So I went through lots of persecution. But where did I find my comfort? I find my comfort actually in two things. First of all, when I start to recite or to read the Lord's Prayer. Like the Lord's Prayer, it starts, Our Father in heaven. And there I got to know a God is not that the one who created me in his image and left me, but a God that I could call him Father. There I found my identity and my destiny in it. And whenever I prayed, I looked to God as my Father, that I could always come to him. And I know a day will never come where this Father will tell to me, you are no longer my son. Following Christ is going to cost us. And the most important thing, we need to know our Bible. You know, in that dark place where I was imprisoned, what carries me is the Word of God, not my emotions, you know, not the security that I have, but the promises that I have. When Jesus said, I will be with you every day till the end of time, you know, either I believe that or I leave it. I'm not very much concerned about what is going on in the Middle East. I'm concerned about the European society, where everything is easygoing and they're totally missing the whole meaning of life. As Christians, we have to understand that to follow Christ, this is the narrow way, not the wider road, you know, not the highway. Jesus said that very few that are going to follow him, and the road is narrow. And Jesus said, in this world you will have despair and you will have distress, but have courage that I overcome all of this. So Jesus never actually promised us to have an easy life. We have to understand that, you know, even in this easy situation where we live in. To prepare ourselves for the time of persecution is to learn from the persecuted church today. This society is not as secure as we think. And whoever put his trust in a system, in a political system or a social system, you know, he will be a loser at the end of the day. We need to start to practice and to put our trust in Jesus, even in this easy time. And then when persecution comes, we are already living a relationship with Jesus. And only Jesus, and really only Jesus, could bring us through. And that's why I see church growth in these countries where persecution is really growing faster. And that's not because people don't have anything else to clinch into it, but because people there experience God every day. What carried me in this time were two things. The Bible verses that I learned by heart, because I was not even able to read my Bible because I did not have any light. And the second thing, what kept me alive, I was holding into this handkerchief every single day. And this handkerchief became like gave me hold, not because of the practical use of it, but because of the Bible verse that was written on it. And it was this Bible verse, the Lord is my light and my refuge. And in this dark moment, he was my light and my refuge. And I could see that. I could see that even though the cell is so dark. But there I experienced the reality of Jesus being the light of the world. And that's what carried me. 7 weeks. I went the first time back to the Middle East after many years. And I went to Egypt, and I was teaching in Cairo in a seminary there. And then after my teaching was done, a Southern Sudanese came to me with his gray hair, and he came to me and he started to speak to me. He asked me where I came from. I told him my name, my family name, and where I lived in Khartoum. And this pastor started to cry. And then I asked him, why are you crying? And then he looked at me and he said to me, do you remember me? I told him, I can't remember you. I have never met you. And then he would look me into the eye, straight into the eye, and he would say to me, my name is Zachariah. So that was this person that I almost killed one day. I met him 25 years later. And the minute he said his name, I saw his broken arm and his broken leg. and I saw the injuries in his face. The injuries in his face where actually I damaged him. I saw his eye, which he no longer see because we injured him. And it came a silent moment where I didn't know what to say. I expected many things that he would say, but one thing I never expected to hear from him. Zachariah would look me straight into my eye. He said to me, Yassir, because you hated me so much, you persecuted me so much, I always prayed for you. And on that moment in Cairo, in the year of 2007, I grasped why God would deal with a person like me. Because Zachariah prayed for me. I hated him. He prayed for me, persecuted him. He prayed for me. He moved his broken arm, got his bag, opened his bag. He took his Bible out, he opened it, and in the first page, he wrote my name. And he was praying 25 years for me. That's the answer to persecution, to hate, is prayer.